Alright, well, welcome to this special session for the Castlevania Ravenloft. Tonight, we just have one player, and that's because we have a couple of players out, so we just decided to cancel everything. And then, at the last minute, I decided to run a one-shot here with one of my players. So...
Hi.
Yes, you're it. Alexandra is going to be our star of the night. And this will be, of course, recorded for all of the other players to listen in on. So, night settles over the land like a dark shroud. The mist is thick, the air heavy. A campfire gently crackles nearby, its orange flames leaking greedily at their meal of timber. The smell of smokewood roams the Sirpul encampment of Vistani travelers. As Alexandra begins drifting to sleep, she hears the humming of a lovely tune. A somber tune, but an undeniably beautiful song. This haunting lullaby is coming from a small ornamental box that you forced open earlier that evening. There's no chance to investigate this box, however, as it begins its hum just as you are drifting into slumber. You're now kneeling before a sick man. You recognize the weeping woman next to you as Elena, and you realize you are in her house in the village of Barovia. The man looks as if he has no more than a few days to live. In your hand, you hold an empty bottle of some sort of medicine.
I've done just about all I can for the gentleman. Is there anything else you need me to do, Elena?
She's weeping and she's crying and saying, "Is there anything else you can do? He doesn't look well. I don't know if your medicine will work."
I'm afraid I've tried just about everything. All we can do now is make him comfortable.
Do you think he's contagious?
I'm afraid he may be. Several of the other villagers have already fallen victim to this strange plague.
The man groans. He barely opens his eyes. I don't want to get you sick too, dear. And Elena says, "Yes, tomorrow when the sun rises, we'll find some place for you to be comfortable." And she holds his hand.
I believe one of the houses just down the road just opened up. It was labeled as quarantine. We could move him there come sunrise.
Well, we'll say our goodbyes tonight.
See that you do. I'll tend to the gentleman as long as I can, and then I'll head right to the church and send Father Donovich.
God bless you. Thank you for your kindness. With that...
Not at all. I'm happy to help.
Her husband's eyes close. He's breathing shallowly, but it looks like he'll probably make it through the night.
Suppose I should head back home and see if Ismark is still awake. Let him know what's going on, and also tell my father.
Alright. So you open the door, and Elena sees you out. She thanks you again and then closes the door behind you. The village is dark. Not a soul dares tempt the night in this village. And you begin walking back to the Indrovich mansion. When you do, a large bat glides around and down and lands in front of you. The shape of the bat begins to grow and becomes a regally clad nobleman. His face is that of a monster. His eyes are dead and betray no emotion. The dark widow's peak of his hair contrasts with his pale skin. You are the burgomaster's daughter, are you not? What is your name?
Indeed I am. My name is Lisa. Is there something I can help you with?
Do you not know who I am? I have watched you treat the sick. How kind. My brother was once betrothed to a kind and beautiful woman. How unfortunate that I shall never be looked upon as he was. When people look upon me, all they see is death. What do you see?
Am I supposed to see something more? Yes, I do know of you. There's not a single soul in this land that does not know of Lord Strahd, the monster, the terror that stalks the night. I'm not afraid of you, and I don't see anything more than what you expect.
Well,
prove me wrong.
It is impressive that you walk alone in the village at night. It's a pleasure to meet you here.
I wish I could say the same, but the circumstances around here, as you've noticed, have been quite dire as of late.
Perhaps our meeting is fate. Yes. This was meant to be. Come to me, and I will give you more than anyone in this tiny village could imagine in all of their short, little, miserable lives.
You expect me to just walk into your arms? I have work to do, Strahd. These people are sick. They need my help.
He begins to slowly walk towards you. He has a hungry look in his eye. You only have a moment to act. If you're to do something, now's the time.
I suppose I shall see if there's any wooden chips around from broken lanterns, anything, broken carts.
As you're looking around, Strahd grabs you. Make a strength roll. You can use your character sheet.
Save roll, right?
No, this is a contested against his strength.
Oh, yeah, I'm gonna fail that then. Yeah, I was just about to grab the dice and you brought the picture up. Hold on a sec. Yeah, that's an epic fail. Wow.
Yes, Strahd holds you tight, like being wrapped in a marble statue. Your arms are pinned. A tremor runs down your spine as you feel his cold hand brush against your neck. To an onlooker, one might mistake this as a kiss. You bite back a gasp as his tongue moistens the skin to prepare for what's about to come. A sharp sensation rattles your senses, and all repulsion at this evil deed is pushed to some quietly screaming part of your mind. Your eyes half-lidded, you jerk with a guilty pleasure, as this feels as much good as it does wrong, the most unwelcome pleasure. His razor-sharp teeth slice through the wet skin without resistance, penetrating deep into the flesh of your neck as they cut through the thin blood vessels and permit them to spill their precious liquid. He latches on to the wound and begins to greedily suck upon it, like a starving infant to his mother's nipple. You feel like you're going to pass out, and you hear him say, "I will come to you again." And with that, he releases you.
The first thing she does is grab a part of her dress and tear it off so she can press it to her neck.
You do so, but you feel as if you're in some kind of dream, like none of this is real. You can feel the blood on your neck. You can tell it definitely happened. And then Strahd's form begins to change. He hunkers over on all fours and begins to grow fur. Becomes this giant wolf and begins trotting off into the night.
Glaring after him, she takes a moment to compose herself, leaning upon the ground and finally getting back to her feet, brushing herself off before continuing back on her way towards home.
During your journey, you reflect on how disgusting it was to feel the taint of the bite, as if you don't want to admit that part of you enjoyed it, but you know that that's some kind of lie, like it was forced and just some kind of unwanted attack. But you feel like maybe some kind of spell has clouded your mind. If he comes again, you don't know if you'll be able to resist his call.
Feeling bewitched, she makes her way back home finally, knocking upon the door, having lost her sense that she lives at that residence.
With a few clicks and turning of a handle, the door opens to reveal your father, Koylin Indrovich. He can tell that something's wrong immediately and guides you inside. "My dear, what's happened?" Hearing the alarm in his voice, Ismark comes running into the room as well.
A few shades too pale and looking shaken and worse for wear, she's still clutching her neck as she finally looks up at her father and brother. "I was just visited by Lord Strahd."
The old man falls down, unconscious. It appears like he's fainted. All of the color leaves Ismark, and he rushes over to hold you.
"Ismark, do we have any bandages, any iodine? I need to clean these wounds."
"Yes, please, sit down. I'll do what I can." And he sits you down on a couch in the living room and hurries off to find some bandages and does the best he can to clean up the wound. Surprisingly, this doesn't look as bad as I thought a vampire bite would look like. And sure enough, the blood stops very easily.
He was perversely gentle. Please tend to Father. I'll be all right.
Sure. He goes over to his father and shakes him a little bit, arousing him, and the man begins weeping and says, I should have not let you go out at night. This is my fault.
It was no much your fault, Father, than my own. I chose to go out.
No.
Elena's husband was ill. I chose to go and tend to him.
No, this is my fault. Ismark, please, lock down the mansion. Lisa, please, come with me to my room. I have something I must show you. He takes you to his room as Ismark starts boarding up the windows and hanging crosses everywhere. And he says, it is my fault. I should have given you this a long time ago. I just never thought that you might need it. But when we found you, and we found that little brush with you, that's not all we found. And he pulls out this sword that looks extremely sharp and deadly. It looks ancient as well. He said, this sword is something we also found you with, and maybe I should have let Ismark teach you how to use it. And I should have never allowed you to go and tend to the sick when it's getting so late. All of this is my fault.
It would not have made a difference, Father. His grip was like iron.
Well, keep this sword with you.
I shall. And I shan't go walking alone at night anymore. I promise.
You notice that the sword has the same little crest design on it as does your brush. And Coylan says, I will never let you out of my sight. He will come again. He always comes back for those that he marks. I will die before I let him take you. I will not let him harm you again.
He said as much. But this time when he visits, I'll be ready.
We may only have a few days. We will stay up all night and sleep during the days. I don't think that he is awake when the daytime is out.
What's passable for day around here, anyway?
Yes, it's the only day we know, though. Well, let's get some food in you. You look pale. We will deal with this as it comes.
I don't have much of an appetite, Father, to be honest.
Ah. It would make me feel better if you would eat.
If it will make you smile, I shall try.
Ismark! In comes Ismark. Yes, Father. Would you mind making us waffles? Not at all, sir. And he goes to the kitchen and begins a late night snack. And after waffles, you find yourself in your room, and what is pathetically called a sunrise eventually comes. And you feel, at that point, it's safe to go to sleep.
She does sleep for some time, but then waking upon the sun, what passes for sunlight streaming through her window, she awakens once more, remembering her promise to go and seek out Father Donovich.
Okay. When you awaken, you see that Coylan has been watching you all night long. And, well, I mean, you're awake with him the whole night, but he never left your side. And when the sun rises, you can tell he looks pretty exhausted. He allows you to get dressed and do all the things that you need to do in private, as he understands you're going out.
To bed with you, Father. I have some errands I need to run and some medicine to deliver. I can't let this incident prohibit what my duties are to this town and its people.
Yes, well, take your sword with you and keep your brother close aside. And then he goes to bed. So, Ismark doesn't look like he slept much during the night either, but he looks more well-rested than his father does. But he gets dressed and he's with you.
Ismark, I really don't need an escort. You're exhausted. Get some sleep. He won't tend me in the daytime.
I don't know when the last time I don't know how long it will be before... Let's see, how do I say this? I don't want to waste another minute, so if you would have my company...
If you insist.
Very well then. Where are we going?
Well, first I must go fetch Father Donovich. Elena's husband is gravely ill, and he may only have a few days left. We're moving him to the quarantine house today, so I figured Father Donovich could come read him his last rites.
Very well then, let's go. So you are off to the church. And on the way to the church, you pass Gertruda, which is quite odd because you've never seen her outside of her house before.
Gertruda? Dear, are you feeling all right? Why did your mother let you out?
Oh, she doesn't know.
You snuck out, you clever girl. Where are you headed?
I don't know. I've never been out before. Isn't this wonderful?
It is, but you know if she wakes and finds you gone, she'll be worried sick.
Oh, yes, you're right. I don't want to worry Mother too much. I guess I'll go back in.
Explore the town if you must. Have your fun, but don't get lost. And be back inside before nightfall.
Oh, okay. And with that, she titters off. Not in the direction of her house, but more along your path, like towards the inn, the Blood of the Vine and the and Bildrath's. It's pretty early in the morning, so you might think that Mary's probably still asleep. But you make your way to the village square, and then you can head north to the church. And when you get to the church, you open the doors, and you and your brother go inside, and you hear, "Father!" beneath you somewhere. Father Donovich is nowhere to be seen. This early, you think that he may be in one of the beds, or maybe he's not here. But you don't see him immediately when you open the doors.
Ismark, if you'd be so kind, please go check the rooms. See if Father Donovich is still asleep at this hour.
Oh, of course. And he knocks on a couple of doors, and the second door, a very unkempt and it looks exhausted Father Donovich.
Meanwhile, Lisa heads over to the door where she knows the trapdoor to the basement is, and she knocks upon it softly, knowing Doru can hear her. Doru, it's early in the morning. You should be asleep. Don't keep harassing your father. Let him rest.
But I need blood!
There's nothing doing this early in the morning. I'm sure he will tend you when he's awake.
Please let me out.
You know I can't do that, child.
My father will reward you greatly if you open this hatch.
I highly doubt that, Doru. Go to bed. And with that, she turns and rejoins her brother.
Okay. And, you can see that Father Donovich is just throwing his robe on. He looks exhausted. It looks like there's no hope in this man's face. What do you want?
Sorry to awaken you this early in the morning, Father, but Well, we did not hear the church bells ring, and we feared the worst. On top of it all, too, Elena's husband, he's probably only got a few days left in him. We were going to move him to the quarantine house. It seems that he's come down with that strange sickness that's plaguing the rest of the town. We were wondering if you'd be so kind to come along with us and read him his last rites before we move him.
If I leave this place, my son will convince someone and trick someone into opening that hatch. I can't do that until he's well. I need to stay here and pray.
I will stay behind.
No. If the man passes, you may give him his rights. You can bring his body here once he's passed. And he coughs. Oh.
Don't tell me you've fallen ill as well.
You didn't happen to bring any breakfast, did you?
I did not, but I'm sure we could go find you something quickly.
Ismark says, "Oh, yes, let's go get him something to eat."
We'll be back momentarily, Father.
Oh, thank you, child. Alright, and when you leave the church, Ismark says, "I don't think that Father Donovich is all there these days. We have to do something about his son."
That pitiable boy of his keeps him up day and night.
Yes, it's been like that for far too long.
But he starves him. Is there no manner that he can feed him without sacrificing someone in the village? Are there no rats he can bring down to him?
You may ask him these things. I only wish that somehow that nightmare would disappear. Maybe Father will take care of it. I will talk to him about it.
I should hope so. Something must be done.
Let's go to town. We'll get him something to eat.
Perhaps he'd be in a more amiable mood.
And you two have no problem finding a few baked goods. It can be sweetly smelled down the street.
Nothing from the pie lady, right?
No sign of the pie lady.
Okay, good.
You don't want to eat any more children?
No, that's quite alright.
At least you can cross it off your bucket list.
Oh god. Let's not revisit that, please.
Well, with a fresh roll, you return to the church. And inside you can see Father Donovich looking at the rope that he uses to pull the bell and sound the bell of the church. But the way he's looking at the rope doesn't look like he wants to just ring the time of day.
Father, we've returned with breakfast for you.
Oh. He didn't notice that you were watching him. It looked like you have startled him a little bit. And he kind of shakes his head and walks over to you. "Oh, thank you, Lord, for this bread." And he breaks off a piece. And he said, "Will you break bread with me?"
I will join you at the table, but I'm afraid I don't have much of an appetite myself.
"Oh, yes, you do look a little peaked, dear."
"'Tis nothing. I'll be all right. Just a little under the weather, that's all."
"I see." He breaks bread with your brother, Ismark, says a prayer, and eats. And after he's done, he says, "I'm sorry I cannot go to read Elena's husband's last rites, but I must stay here."
What is it that concerns you so, Father?
"I don't want him to get out. We can't have anyone letting him out."
No one will let him out. I offered to stay behind here. Ismark and I both shall stay.
"Very well, then. If you'll stay. But you must not, under any circumstances, talk to him or open that door. Your word, please."
On my honor, he will not escape that door.
"Yes, you can trust us. Please. Go do your duty to God." And with that, he slowly begins to hobble out. He grabs a holy book, a cross, and takes the first step out of his church in God knows how long.
It will do him well to get out and about, Ismark. He hasn't been outside these doors in quite some time, I've noticed.
Somewhere below you, you hear scratching.
And she pounds the floor roughly with one of her heels, calling out to Doru. Doru, stop. We're not letting you out.
I can smell your blood. And I smell... Where is my father?
He's had his breakfast and he's tending to his duties.
Yes. He has had his breakfast. I can smell him on you.
Whatever do you mean?
I smell my father. You reek of his scent.
Casting a sideways glance at Ismark, she shifts uncomfortably.
I will not have you. Even if you come down here, I will not touch you. You belong to the Master now.
We're not opening that door, Doru.
You say that now, but I bet you will soon.
And why would we?
Because you and I, we shall be family soon.
What do you mean?
The Master has chosen you. I will treat you like my queen.
Is that so? And when exactly did he choose you?
He chose me when I was foolish enough to think that this village could overthrow him.
You left with that mage who went to attack him.
Yes. What
You
a
were
fool.
with that party, I remember now. Why did he let you live?
You mean Strahd?
I mean, either of them.
The wizard had no choice. He was thrown off a cliff. Strahd gave to me infinite life. And he sent me here to pay a visit to my father. You don't think an old man like that could get me under here on his own accord, right?
Why did he send you here? Did he think that by killing your father, he would further demoralize this town?
Oh, I'm not to kill my father. Donovich is my toy.
He sent you back here to play with him like some demented puppet?
Yes, but I thought there'd be more blood.
You need to stop this folly, Doru. Your father has troubles enough as it is.
I agree. Please, let me out.
As if compelled by some unnatural force, she slowly heads towards the door, not really realizing what she's doing.
Yes, let me out. You will eventually anyway.
Suddenly coming to her senses again, she tries to stop herself, tries to hesitate, but she can't even pull her hand away from the door.
Ismark grabs you and pulls you back. What are you doing?
I don't know. I can't... I shouldn't be here.
Yes, let's wait outside. We'll wait for Donovich to return. And he guides you out and he closes the church doors behind him. All you hear is the cynical laughter behind you, somewhere deep below the floor.
Well, I must say, that was not how I planned on spending my morning.
Strahd must have left some taint on you that other vampires can sense. I would ask Donovich to try to remove this, but I don't think he's mentally stable enough to do anything. Did you see the way he was looking at that rope for the bell?
I did, and I don't want to worry him further. He has trouble enough with his own son.
The last thing I want today is to hear that bell just ring once, and not have a downswing. Perhaps his faith will prevail.
I would appreciate too, brother, if you didn't tell anybody about what happened. I think it would be best to keep up appearances.
Yes, I agree.
If and when I turn, we'll deal with it in time.
I will not let this come to pass. I think he would have to drain you of all your blood. Or do something else, like make you drink his or something, for you to truly become like he is.
I would never.
And eventually Donovich does return. He says, Elena and I have taken her husband to the quarantine. There's several other sick people there. It looks like this plague is coming to an end, though, thanks to your help. Everyone talks about how you go around and help everyone with your medicines. We're truly blessed to have you here, Lisa.
I'm humbled by your words, Father. I do only what I can.
I've never seen you carry a sword, though. What is this?
An heirloom. My father just recently gave it to me.
Ah. Well, I never would have thought that some sword would suit you, but it suits you well. Pray that you never have to use it.
I pray so too. Nonetheless, I will have my brother teaching me.
Never too late for a lesson, huh? Up for some training?
If you think I'll be able to keep up.
I'll take it easy on you. And with that, you feel like time has slipped. Like, inexplicably, you're in a different place now. In fact, night has fallen. And you see that you're in your bed. And just as night has come, it looks like Ismark is just sitting there, waiting and watching, keeping watch while you rest. Today's been a good day, sister.
Indeed it has. I still don't feel well, though. I feel restless.
After all the training today, you still feel restless. I can understand. There must be much on your mind, but just know that my time with you has been great. Ever since Father found you, you've been the light of the entire village, the light of my life. I could never have asked for a better sister. Mother would have loved you as well.
Ismark, you're already gone.
One day it will happen, right? One of us has to go first.
But it won't be today. At least I hadn't planned on it.
Me neither, my sister. But maybe we should do this more often, tell the people that we love how important they are to us. Just in case. And with that, Koylin Indrovich comes in and says, so you will take this watch then, Ismark, and I will get some rest, but my dear, I love you so much, and I'm so sorry that this burden has fallen upon you, and that devil Strahd's eyes has fallen your direction. We will keep you safe, though. Have no fear. Please rest easy. Ismark will keep watch. I'm going to bed. And he comes over and kisses you on the forehead.
Rest well, Father.
You too, my dear. He scurries off to bed.
How close is Ismark to falling asleep?
Ismark looks wide awake. He looks very diligent. You should rest, though. Please lay down. He fluffs up your pillow. Would you like some tea or anything?
Actually, tea would sound fantastic right about now.
My tea tastes like shit, but I'll give you the best we have. And he goes off and starts brewing some tea, returns back, and gives you a hot drink. And then, a bit of time passes, and although he was, bright-eyed and very awake just a second ago, suddenly he is dead asleep in his chair. You can hear him softly snoring. Lisa sat up slowly in bed, running her fingers absently along her throat where two small puncture wounds were trying to heal. Tossing the covers aside, she swung her feet over the edge of the bed. Taken by a shiver as if someone had just stepped over a grave, she felt a pair of eyes upon her. Standing slowly from the bed, she turned towards the window and brought her fingers to her lips to stifle a small gasp of surprise. Someone was watching her from outside. Standing on the other side of the glass was a tall man in a dark black cloak with a high collar, lined in a blood-red material. His hair was long and dark, He sported a well-groomed, pointed beard and a respectable mustache. His eyes stared at her with intensity, but she didn't sense any sort of malice in his eyes at all. In fact, the look on the man's face was one of painful sorrow. Looking at her brother, she is torn between relief that he will not see what's coming and the urge to wake him to help fight. After a moment, her choice is made. Carefully approaching the window, she speaks softly through the closed glass, not wanting to wake Ismark after all.
I expected Strahd this night. Are you here to take me to him?
From the other side of the glass, the man gently speaks.
No, I am here only to satisfy my curiosity. Strahd is a name unfamiliar to me. When I passed the mists, I felt drawn to this mansion.
Eyeing him skeptically for a moment, Lisa frowns. Even in the dark of night, she could see the pallor of the man's skin and the unnatural sharpness of the edges of his canine teeth when he spoke. Whether he was sent by Strahd or not, she could tell this strange man was not at all human. Pulling her hair out of the way, she reveals to him the bite marks already upon her neck.
I know what you are, sir. Is this why you've come? I'm sorry to disappoint you, but I'm afraid I don't have enough blood to go around.
The man's face shifts from grief to anger, but she gets the impression that his anger is not directed at her. He cast his glance down into the side for a moment before speaking again.
Would you join me on a walk this night? I promise no harm will come to you. Surely if this Strahd knew you would prefer the company of another vampire, he would try to destroy me.
The thought of betraying Strahd repulses Lisa strongly, and it is evident in the looks that she casts him. But she can tell the feeling is not completely of her own willpower. Fighting through the warning thoughts in her head, she pulls a robe over her nightgown and ties it off before slipping from her bedroom and heading silently to the front door. After a measure of great trepidation, she turns the handle. When she opens the door, the man is waiting at the bottom of the steps. The pale light from the unseen moon prevails enough through the mist that she has no need of a torch. He bows deeply and introduces himself.
I am Dracula, Vlad Tepes, Lord of the Vampires, King of the Night.
Lord of the Vampires. King of the Night, no less. That's an awfully prestigious title you hold, Vlad. Are you so certain that Strahd and others like him would agree and fall at your feet in reverence of their liege?
The words just fell out of her mouth before she realized the venom dripping from them. After hearing herself speak, she seemed to realize exactly what she'd said and regretted the edge she had put on the words. Separating her own thoughts from those that were tainted by Strahd's influence was becoming more and more difficult by the day. Nevertheless, she took a deep breath and steeled herself, forcing the haze of bitterness from her mind as she returned his bow with a polite nod.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to bite.
It was a poor choice of phrase, true enough, but the very faintest trace of a smile threatened the corners of his lips beneath his finely trimmed mustache. It was the strangest thing, but seeing him smile like that, it almost made him look familiar, though she could swear that she has never laid eyes on the likes of him before this night.
My name is Lisa, daughter of Koilan Indrovich, burgomaster of the village of Barovia.
Despite the cordiality in her introduction, he could see that she remained leaning upon the door, seemingly reluctant to approach him. Some small part of her was terrified beyond measure. What if this was all just an elaborate setup? What if Strahd had sent this man to collect her after all? So many thoughts raced in her mind, though they all seemed to come to a grinding halt, going still and silent as the night itself as the man reaches out a hand to her. The influence of Strahd within her was screaming at her to slam the door and back away, but perhaps that was why she remained rooted in place. She couldn't begin to explain, nor understand why, but she trusted this man, this Vlad Tepes, more than she trusted herself at the moment. With his hand still outstretched, Dracula waited for her to join him at his side. Fighting her way through the mist in her mind, Lisa reaches out and slips her hand within his. As she descends, one step at a time, Vlad's free hand reaches up and touches his necklace. At a touch, the crimson stone there glows with a dull red light. The hand holding hers withdraws, only then to lay his palm on her forehead. Drawing his hand back slowly while closing it, as if gripping something unseen and pulling it from her mind, she immediately feels the cloud of Strahd's will leave her in one rush of relief. In the absence of this influence, it is only now that she fully feels with no disillusion about how unpleasurable and detestable the bite really was. for the blood and the innocence that was taken can never be returned. Though despite the inherent tenderness of where the wounds were, upon reaching up and touching her throat again, Lisa can feel no evidence of the puncture wounds.
What have you done?
Confused, she glances up at Dracula and blinks incredulously. She is unsure how he managed to purge her of Strahd's infection, or even why, but she is grateful nonetheless.
Thank you.
Do not think on it, daughter of Coilan. It is enough that you are yourself again.
Lisa is continually perplexed by the kindness of this stranger, this vampire. As if sensing her puzzlement, Dracula clears his throat and continues.
As I promised, no harm will come to you. You are free to return to your room if you choose. I cannot enter your home unless invited. But surely the one who bit you will return, and with those who can enter here, especially now that you are free of his grasp.
He pauses, but for a moment to contemplate his next words carefully.
I will take leave of you, Lisa, if that is your wish. Or if it should please you, you may come away with me, and I will keep you safe. Your absence may protect your family as well. If this Strahd is smart, he will leave them be, so that you have someone to return to, that he may find you again, lest he seek you out.
What Dracula had to say, while bittersweet to hear, made entirely too much sense to her. Lisa knew that Strahd would return for her. The vampire was never one to not collect what he considered his. Several of the village's missing young women before her were proof of that.
My father and brother would fight Strahd to their deaths if he were to come while I was here. I don't think I could bear to see them suffer and die for my sake.
Thinking it over for a moment more, she frowned, but she could see the sense in his offer. She truly had no choice, as she couldn't allow Ismark and Coilan to lay down their lives for her own.
I will walk with you, Vlad Tepes, Dracula. Will you permit me to say my farewells to my family?
Of course. I have made sure your father and brother are fast asleep. If you wish to wake them before you go, simply shake them. They will awaken. If you have a weapon, bring it with you so that you may defend yourself, should you wish to part ways and leave my company. The choice will always be yours. You have my word.
With a nod, Lisa steps away from him slowly, backing up the steps to the door before hurrying back inside and going straight to her room to get dressed. Packing a small bag and grabbing her sword, she stops as she turns around towards Ismark, still deep in slumber in his chair. Knowing that her family would never willingly let her go, she decided to leave them as they were. Leaning over, she gently caresses her brother's cheek and kisses Ismark on the forehead, while running her fingers through his hair.
Sleep well, Ismark. I can't thank you enough for always watching over me, especially these past few days. I'm sorry that we can't properly say goodbye, and I hope that you understand and can forgive me for it. My dear brother, I pray we will meet again one day.
Letting out a shaky sigh, she slips from his side with great reluctance, and made her way to the master bedroom, knowing that her father would protest even more than Ismark would. She laid her hand and cheek to his door and whispered quietly,
Thank you for all you've done for me, Father. Even though I was not born of your wife, you found me and took me in as your own. You raised me well. I wish I could embrace you just one more time, tell you how much I appreciate how well you and my brother have tended me, but I can't risk your protest at my leaving. I just can't put you both in danger any longer.
In staggering finality, Lisa steps out of the mansion and locks the door behind her, her hands lingering for a moment too long upon the handles as she closes her eyes to deny them the tears that threaten to fall. Dracula stands unmoving where last she beheld him at the bottom of the steps. Turning to face him after prying herself away from the door, she adjusts the rucksack upon her shoulder and joins him at his side once again, offering a glance up at him before gazing out into the vast night.
So where are we going that you think I would be safe?
Contemplating her words, Vlad brought up a hand to stroke his chin before gesturing politely for her to lead the way towards the main road.
I am new to this land. You will be safe as long as you are with me, though I do not travel by day. For the moment, you know better than I where you can hide safely. Before I crossed the mists into this land, I sent my associate, Carmilla, in to see if she could tell me what was beyond. She did not return, so I went in myself after making a few arrangements. Once I hear from my friends, I will decide where we will hide you, while I learn more about this vampire Strahd. So for now, where would you think is best?
Her gaze falls to her feet upon the cobblestones as they emerge into the road and continue on, away from the town. After a few silent minutes of thought, she finally lifts her head and turns to glance at him.
Can you enter holy ground? There is the Abbey of St. Markovia, to the north near Kresk. I've never been there, but Father Donovich said that it was once a haven against Strahd.
Holy ground? I've never bothered to try. I renounced God quite some time ago and became a vampire in my revenge against him. But if that is where you wish to go, then we shall.
Not wanting to press the matter, the pair continue on for some time until the village of Barovia begins to disappear in the distance. Ultimately, her innate curiosity gets the better of her, and Lisa gazes inquisitively at him as they walk.
Why did you renounce God?
That is something I have not discussed in over 350 years. During my mortal life, I led armies to war in the name of God. When I had returned home from the Crusades, God had stolen the life away from someone very important to me.
The look on Dracula's face reminds her of when she first saw him at her window.
Tell me, Lisa, do you believe in second chances? Should I forgive God's treachery if he offers the same to me?
Of course I believe in second chances. God gave his only son to prove that. A short time ago, I was under the curse of Strahd, and now my mind is clear again. I don't believe your arrival here in Barovia is mere coincidence. Surely God has sent you to save me from the devil.
In my travels before I happened upon the mists, I crossed paths with an old fortune-teller woman. Normally people's superstitions do not concern me, but I sensed power in her. She said that I would come upon an inescapable fog, and inside it, my heart would beat again.
She was no stranger to superstition and fortune-telling. The Vistani of this land were adept at such arts. In passing rumor in town, Lisa had heard of one woman in particular at the Surpool encampment that had a renowned gift for telling travelers their fate. His tale was not so strange to her in the least.
So, when you found the fog, you sent Carmilla first. You seem concerned by her absence. Do you think your heart will beat for her?
Never.
He replied a little bluntly, without hesitation, but wanting to soften the apparent snap to his tone, he continued.
Carmilla would enjoy your company much more than mine in that regard. She has a weakness for young and beautiful mortal women.
Paid compliment, Lisa's cheeks flushed slightly in the paltry glow of the moon.
Should I fear Carmilla when we find her?
The thought of Carmilla feeding on Lisa plays through Dracula's mind. This young woman looks exactly like his beloved Elizabetha. Every detail is picture-perfect to his memories. Though in spite of the uncanny resemblance, he knows that Lisa is not his late wife. Why would he deny such a beauty to Carmilla? That thought sickens him. Suddenly, the life of this mortal woman is now more significant than a mere piece on the board in this game against the vampire lord of this land.
No. No vampire shall ever bite you again.
With those words, Lisa could not help but smile, and for the first time in centuries, Dracula's heart began to beat once again. So Alexandra wakes up from her dream, and the dream quickly begins to fade from her memory. Only the slightest hints of it stay with her, and she can tell that the harder she tries to grasp onto the dream, the easier it slips away. And the lovely hum of the ornate music box, she remembers that it was humming some sort of tune, some lovely music as she was falling asleep. And as hard as she tries to remember that tune as well, it seems to escape her mind. But the one thing that she does remember, some handsome man that she met in her dream. One that she can't quite remember the name of. Now we'll see everyone again next Wednesday.
Oh my god, I was going to end with one of Shanoa's quotes, the one that Brainiac likes, but I don't know.
Well, you might as well.
I am the morning sun, come to vanquish the horrible night.
The Sunraiser. Alright. Good night, everyone.